Okay, guys, welcome back to Let's Get Freaky tonight. We're super excited to welcome Jace to the show. Jace, how are you? Welcome to Let's Get Freaky.
How's it going? Thanks for having me.
I'm excited to have you on. You are in Ireland right now. Is that
I
correct?
am, yeah. Yeah.
Nice, very nice.
I know I don't sound Irish. I'm from California. I was born in Nevada and grew up in California
Oh,
and moved
wow.
here about 4 years ago. Just the day before the first lockdown hit, we landed in
Wow.
and
You
yeah.
got in just in time.
We just like barely skidded through the door. Yeah.
Wow, that's cool. Ireland's a beautiful place, but so is California. What brought you to Ireland?
My husband was born and raised in Ireland, in County Donegal, and he wanted to go home, so we were like, all right, let's go. We had my son and then we have a son together.
Yeah,
And our youngest boy was a year at the time. Um, so yeah, we had kind of a roller coaster like landing. We had to go get my son from his dad's house in Portland. It was like a 12-hour drive and then turn around and come all the way back to San Francisco. And there was the panic about COVID and it was like crazy on the road and get
yeah, I
on the
bet that was
plane and fly
wild.
straight here. And then yeah, it was
Then,
it was like 36 hours of travel in panic. It was
wow.
yeah.
And then they locked you down, which didn't help.
And then they locked everything down, yeah. Yeah. It was kind
Oh,
of nice though because I was already a little bit used to the Irish time because he
mhm.
does everything on his own time and Irish time is a thing. It does not work the same way as the rest of the world. So
Explain to us
I was
what
kind
that
of used
is.
to that. It's like you tell someone, okay, I'll meet you at 2 o'clock, and it's going to be anytime between 1:30 and 4. Like they will get there when they get there.
That sounds a little bit like me.
Yeah, it's gonna happen when it happens. There's actually no time
Yeah,
clock.
yeah,
Whereas I grew up with, okay, I'll meet you at 2 o'clock. I'm there half an hour early. I am waiting. I am ready. Like, if I'm 10
yeah,
minutes early, I'm already late.
yeah.
So I grew up with that very fast pace, like, do it now. I just thought of it, but why isn't it done yet? Kind of mentality. And yeah,
I'm
not like that
naturally a
here.
late person. So I'm normally late, but I try very hard. So I normally, if I'm due somewhere at 1 o'clock, I try and get there 10 minutes before. Like that, and that's the time
Yeah.
because I am a late person normally, naturally.
I think if I wasn't raised with that mentality from my parents, I would probably be more inclined to be late all the time. But
Yeah,
I have such anxiety about it that I'm like,
yeah,
I'd rather just be half an hour early because it puts me at ease.
yeah,
So,
same,
yeah.
same. I think it's because when I was younger, I used to be so bad at being late. It was like, oh, Tom's late again. It was one of them. So now I'm like trying to be
Yeah.
on super on time,
Yeah.
early. So you
Overcompensation a little
yeah,
bit. Yeah.
yeah, that's it. That's it. So you've got an awesome podcast, Wabi Sabi podcast. Did I say that
Yeah.
correctly?
You did. Yeah. Wabi sabi.
Awesome.
It's a Japanese concept of kind of finding perfection in imperfection. Uh,
Okay.
and the podcast is my best friend and I, and we pretty much just shit talk and sit back
Love
and
that.
catch up. And we've known each other since we were 5. So there's a lot of history. There's a lot of inside jokes. There's a lot of just us like you get the inside scoop of our relationship kind of. Um, and we've both kind of paralleled on a spiritual journey together throughout our life. So we've gone through similar things, but in opposite ways. So you get kind of like, oh, well, my experience with that was this way, and her experience with it was a completely different way. So you kind of get like that polarization of
Okay.
different experiences.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's cool. That's cool. And you also you do a lot with Counter Cult podcast as well, which is another
I
great
do.
show.
Yeah,
We've had these guys on the
yeah.
show.
I love the guys.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
They're so
awesome
much
as
fun
well.
to just bullshit with.
Yeah. They're a lot of fun, that is for sure. So you're busy then. You're doing 2 podcasts and all the other stuff that you do.
Yeah. I've got 3 kids. And I crochet as a hobby, and I make orgonite religiously again at this point. Finally getting back into that, and then 2 podcasts. So, and
Yeah, that's
I've
difficult.
been on a handful of other ones as well, doing the
Yeah.
podcast with JJ Rose and Kim Bishop on If You Have Ghosts, You Have Everything, and
Yeah, awesome,
yeah.
awesome.
So I
Yeah,
don't
well,
really know how I landed in the world of podcasts, but here I am.
yeah, nice, awesome. You're doing a great job. I've got 3 kids and a podcast, so I know how difficult it is, and the time management, and it is tough. It's like a full-time job doing one podcast. So the fact that you're doing all this
Yeah.
other stuff as well is amazing. Credit to you.
Thank you. Yeah, I prefer to record so late at night. It's, that I record with Americans, so they're always like, "Well, is that time too late for you?" I'm like, "No, that works. My kids are sleeping.
Yeah.
Like, my house is quiet. The dog's not
Yeah.
barking in the background. I can just sit and like relax. It works for me."
Yeah, no, for sure. That's the same with me. So I normally record at about 1 o'clock UK time in the morning, AM. So
Yeah.
that's my normal sort of time. So I say that I live on American time, Eastern time, pretty much is
Oh
my
yeah.
clock.
Oh yeah.
So I
Right there with
totally
you.
get it. This is,
Catapult records at 2 a.m. my time, so it's yeah.
yeah. So you're a night owl like me.
Oh yeah. I don't sleep. There's a running joke that I just don't sleep. I just do
Yeah.
everything and keep going. Live on
Yeah.
coffee.
Coffee and energy drinks. Yeah, that's me as well.
Pretty
Ah,
much. Yeah, that's kind of where we are, right? And steak and
yeah.
chocolate. That's about it.
Because the thing is, you finish recording at probably 3, 4 o'clock, whatever it is, then you can't go straight to bed. So you're up till about 5, half 5. This is me anyway. And then
Yeah.
sometimes the kids get me up at 8 or whatever time they get me up. And I'm like, man, just like in another realm right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm very fortunate. My oldest is 13.
Mhm.
So most of the time I'll wake up and I'll hear him go, "No, no, no, come on, we're gonna let mommy sleep. She was up late last night. Come on, let's go downstairs. I'll get you
What a
breakfast."
star.
Like
That
he
is a
steps
star
in
right
and
there.
yeah, he helps a lot.
That's awesome.
Well, then I homeschool, so they're home all the time.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
yeah. So it's been really interesting as I've gotten into the podcast world to see how he has kind of stepped up and like helped me out in ways that I never thought that he would. And I never asked him to. He just was like, "No, mom needs to sleep. Come on,
That's
let's go
awesome.
away. Like, you'll close my door." And
That's
so
so
yeah.
cool. Because I know my kids, my eldest is 12, and I know that she would absolutely love me to homeschool. But that must be difficult as well.
You know, I've been in the conspiracy theory
Mhm.
realm for so many years that I looked at my own experience in public school and went, I don't want my kids to have to hit their 20s and go, "Okay, now I have to unlearn all this stuff because actually," right? So we
Yeah.
do kind of unschooling. There's the basics, there's, shapes and letters and numbers and arithmetic and that. Um, but like my oldest son is currently studying Norse mythology, and
Oh,
he found a
wow.
series of YouTube videos that he's been doing that for the last like week. He's been diving into Norse mythology.
That's
Before
so
that,
cool.
it was astronomy. So he picks the subject, and I'm just like, go for it. You're
That's
learning
so
how to
cool.
research. Dive
Yeah.
in, buddy.
And he's
Have fun
probably
with
learned
it.
more than he would learn at school. And he's doing something that he's
Oh yeah.
interested in.
Oh yeah.
And he's
He
picking
comes
some
up and
cool
he's like, "Mom,
subjects.
did you know this about Loki and that about Odin?" And I'm like, "I did not. I'm glad you know that now."
That's awesome, man. He's going to be podcasting one day, that's for sure.
Oh yeah. If anybody could talk, it would be him.
That's awesome. That's so cool. I think it's important, especially at that age, that kids pick and focus on things that they really want to look into and focus on, and that interest them. So I think that's a really cool
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, we tried to get him out in the garden and get him like learning how to grow food and doing all the practical stuff. And he's in this place of his brain is in the fantasy and the mythology and the stories and all. He reads a lot. He's read the Harry Potter books like 25 times at this point. I mean, if you have a Harry Potter question, ask him because he knows it.
That's
So
awesome.
I finally got to the point where I was like, you know what? It's fine. If you don't want to get your hands dirty in the garden, that's fine. You can
Yeah.
do something else. My other two, who are 3 and 5, you can't walk out the front door without them. But I mean, even just to throw something in the bin, they will follow you. They
Yeah.
always want to be outside and they love getting dirty. They love watering the plants and doing all of that stuff. So
That's awesome.
we do that with them.
Yeah, that's so cool. We've got very similar age. I've got a 12, an 8, and a 4. So we're
Okay,
sort of similar sort of ages.
pretty close.
Yeah, yeah,
Good. That's good spacing there.
yeah. 4 years between each.
Yeah.
We're due another one, but that's it. I'm done. It's game over. We got a dog instead. We got a dog now instead. So that's
Yeah, we did too.
which is probably harder, to be honest. He's probably harder than all the kids put together. He's tough, my dog.
Yeah, dogs are rough. I mean, we had to crate train ours just to keep him out of the kids' toys because,
Yeah,
you know, God forbid they put their toys away. So like, and he doesn't go for food. He doesn't go for he goes for socks and he goes for any toy. Whatever toy he can find, it's gone.
yeah.
So it's always this mad dash of like, no, get the dog.
Yeah, before he eats it. Oh no, I've had
Yeah.
that. I've had that. I've got a Staffy, and he's a lovely dog, but he is hard work. He is like on one
Yeah.
24/7. As a pup, he was harder than any of the babies. Like we did not realize
Oh
really
yeah.
what we was getting ourselves in for, but it is worth it because they're amazing.
Yeah. We have a Cocker Spaniel and
Oh, nice.
he's like a crackhead. He's just crazy all the time. Full energy, like 24/7.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah.
Fun but hard work, that is for sure. I'd
Oh
love to
yeah.
get into your spiritual journey. Where does it all begin for you with spirituality, the paranormal, all the freaky stuff that we like here at Let's Get Freaky?
You know, I'd say probably about age 5 is the earliest I can remember. Around the time that I met Anna, my co-host on Wabi Sabi, she was the pastor's daughter. We had just moved to California from Nevada. She came up to me at the snack table and was like, "Want to be my friend?" And that was it. And then it just kind of escalated into, "Did you see that? Yeah. Did you see that? Yeah. Okay, well, what do we do about this?" Like, you know, um, everything from shadows to shadow cats to portals in the church to weird things in the forest. We grew up in an area that's real close to Pebble Beach, so it's all
Okay.
forested. And of course, you hit teenage years, and what are you gonna do but go smoke pot in the forest, right? So we'd go hang out in the forest, and man, those woods have a lot of interesting stuff. Not so much like Bigfoot or Dogman,
Ah,
but there's a
man.
lot of
I'm
fae.
joking.
There's a ton of fae. There's a
Yeah,
ton of spirits. There's a ton of shadow beings. There's a lot of stuff in those woods. So
right.
we got kind of acquainted with that at a really young age. Um, I've seen I've seen the Watchers. Um, I can tell this story.
Yeah,
So
please.
we I was at a youth group bonfire. It was through the church. It was a bunch of us teenagers, and we decided we were going to go to the beach and have a bonfire and hang out and, you know, whatever. So I go and we're sitting there, and there's 3 or 4 girls on one side of me, 2 guys and a girl on the other side of me. Nobody's sitting in front on the other side of the fire. So we're sitting there, and at the time I was coming out of this stage of playing with tarot and playing with the Book of Answers, which is you ask it a question, flip through it, open the page and there's your answer. And I don't remember what exactly happened, but something happened that triggered me to go, okay, I have to get rid of these things. This is too much. So I decided I was going to burn some stuff at this bonfire. Well, I put the stuff on the fire and it's burning down and it's, whatever. And I look across the fire and there's this man sitting in front of me. He's sitting cross-legged. He's got ratty jeans on. He's got like a tan jacket with the fringe, aviator glasses, bandana on his head, and he's just staring at me. And I'm kind of looking around like, does anybody else see this? Okay, nobody sees him. All right, this is really weird. And I look over to my right, and there's a cliffside. And on top of the cliff are these hooded figures. And I mean hundreds of them. It wasn't like 1 or 2 or 5. It was back-to-back rows, hundreds of them standing on this cliff. And the girls to my right are completely oblivious. But 2 of the people to my left are looking at me and looking at the cliff and looking at me and looking at the cliff. And they have this look on their face like, you're seeing this, right? We're not, the 3 of us are actually seeing these figures on the cliffside. So we didn't make a big deal about it. We were real quiet about it. Later I get home and I'm kind of, I feel like I'm being followed. I've got that like gut feeling, my heart is pounding. I'm kind of freaking out a little bit. I get inside. I didn't even make it upstairs to my room. I went straight for the couch, which was a dark green leather couch that my mom had for years. And it was like, if you were sick, you were on that couch. If you weren't feeling well, you had a bad day, you were on that couch. So I get on the couch and I'm snuggled up in a blanket and I can feel this presence on the other side of the front door. And the way that the house was designed, you walk in the front door, go up a step, go maybe 5 feet, and there's the couch. It's right there. So I'm sitting there, I can feel this presence, kind of start praying, going into like meditative state, trying to calm myself down, trying to like, you're fine, you're safe, you're in your house. Your parents are literally above you on the other side of the ceiling. Like their bedroom's right there. Everything's fine. The dog's not going crazy. It's all in your head. Like you just need to calm down. And I start to kind of, that inner vision, that mind's eye vision, I can see myself sitting on the couch. And it's like bird's eye view, right? So I can see myself on the couch and there's a little silver light. And then all of a sudden there's a gold light that comes in and the gold light surrounds my house. And as it's spreading out, my vision is going higher and higher into the sky. It spreads out to the neighborhood, to the town, to the county. And at some point it cuts off, but it just kept going. After I had that vision, I passed out. I was out for the night, ready for bed, never had any other weird thing as far as these cloaked figures go. But since then, I've also never had that gold light. And I don't know if it's something that I called in, because I was praying at the time and I was going, all right, God, what the hell? Like, can we not? I don't really want to be dealing with this. So at the time, it was like, this is definitely divine intervention. I was obviously the silver light, but the gold light was something bigger. So that took care of the situation, which solidified my belief and my resolve that there is something bigger than us that we can call on.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That is cool.
And I would have been about 15 or 16 when that happened, give or take.
Wow. Man. So what do you think? So obviously you was praying and you had this help What do you think would have happened if you'd not done that? How do you think it would have escalated? I know you don't know, but what do you think would have happened?
I don't know. Part of me thinks because I was playing with a few tools and I had really no concept of spiritual warding or spiritual protection or having any kind of protection for myself,
Mhm.
that maybe I opened myself up to something that I didn't need to. And I don't know what the catalyst was that switched me from going, okay, this is really interesting and let's figure this out and explore this, to absolutely not, this needs to go. I know there was something, but my memory is just like, nope, it's not important. You don't need to remember that.
Yeah.
But there was something that switched in me that was like, okay, these tools are not for you, not right now.
Interesting.
And I think it for me it was partially a preview of what's out there and what's possible, and be careful what you wish for a little bit. Make sure you're prepared for the things that you're playing with,
Mhm.
but you're not ready right now, so let's just shut this down and we're not gonna, now
Yeah.
so let's calm down a little bit.
Yeah. So do you
So
think
I'm a very
what
curious person by nature. I want to know all the things. I'm constantly like, full disclosure right
yeah.
now. I want to know everything.
I'm with you. I'm with you. I
Tell
think that's
me.
why we do the podcast. We're trying to find the answers. That's interesting, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and you see it all the time in the conspiracy circuit as well. Like, people want to know. People want to know the truth. And I'm
Yeah.
totally that person that's like, whatever the truth is, I can handle it.
Yeah.
And it
100%.
might take me some time. Maybe I have a freak out. Maybe I have that moment of like, holy crap, what the hell? But eventually we get through it. So let's
Yeah.
just have full disclosure. I
We
understand why we
want to
don't
know.
have full disclosure, but
Yeah. Yeah. These hooded figures that you had, so your friends were seeing them as well. So that what do you think
Mhm.
they were? I know you said the Watchers. It's
Yeah, I think that they were the Watchers. And since then, I've done a little bit of research, and I've heard a lot of stories of people seeing these cloaked figures, and they just stand there, and they're not menacing, and they're not really doing much, but they stand and they watch and they observe, and they don't really interact. Um, However, I've never heard a story of so many at one time, and perhaps I just don't know enough of the stories, but I've heard of stories of, a handful, 5, 10, maybe 20,
mhm.
maybe 50. I've never heard stories of line after line after line after line. I mean, there easily could have been a few hundred or more
Wow.
standing up there.
Yeah. And
So,
did they all look exactly the same? Were they like the same
oh yeah,
height, same? I know they're wearing the cloaks, but
there
did
was
you see faces or
there was
anything like that?
very slight difference in height, but I don't know if that's because they were different heights or if it was because of the terrain of that cliffside.
Yeah.
It's not exactly totally flat up there, so it could have been that they were just standing on different heights of the ground.
Wow.
Um, but it could have been that they were different heights. I'm not really sure. Where we were sitting, we were down low below the cliff, and so we were kind of looking up at them. Um, so yeah,
Wow. That
they
must
were
have been a
not.
terrifying thing to see.
It was pretty freaky. I think it probably would have been worse had they been watching us directly, but they weren't watching us. They were looking out to sea.
Interesting.
And where this is in California, this is in Monterey County in Pebble Beach. So they were looking out to sea. I don't know what they were watching. I don't know what they were. I mean, it was dark, so we couldn't really see out to sea. We could see
Is
our direct surrounding areas from the fire, but
yeah.
it's
Is there any? I mean, I'm sure there is, but is
so
there any like crazy cults around there where there could have been a group of people wearing hoods? I mean,
I don't think so. And the reason I say that is because there were 3 people sitting to my left, and
Mhm.
one of them did not see them. And he was looking around. It wasn't
Yeah.
like he was totally oblivious. And, you know, we were chatting and we weren't just staring at the fire like mindless kids. We were moving around a little bit in our seats and talking
Yeah.
and and that. And so the fact that there was 3 people sitting there and 2 of them saw these figures and I saw these figures. And the 3 of us are like looking at each other and we're obviously looking at the cliff. The girls even turned around and were like, what are you looking at? And we were just,
Interesting.
nothing, it's fine. You know, we're fine.
Wow.
We didn't want to freak them out. So
That is
yeah.
interesting that only a few of you saw it. What about the guy sitting opposite in the fire? Did anyone else see him?
Nobody else saw him. It
Interesting.
was just me. And he was staring right at me. At one point he smiled, he had his hands up kind of by his chin with his elbows on his knees, and he was just watching and he smiled. And you know, I at the time I was thinking, oh no, this has to be like Lucifer or something, that, you know, I just burned these tools, I just burned this book. It's gotta be the devil, right? But looking back, I don't remember feeling any kind of apprehension or ill will from him. Or, I mean, it was literally just a hippie looking dude sitting down staring at me. Being a young woman, it was a little uncomfortable in the sense of, why are you looking at me? Why me? Why are you singling me out? But beyond that, like, there wasn't any kind of animosity. He didn't feel threatening. He didn't feel out of place, oddly. Uh, so I'm not sure what he was. Um, but I was the only one that saw him.
That's interesting. And was he like a solid form? Like there was just a man sitting there.
Yeah.
Wow. And did you see him appear and disappear, or do you remember how he
No,
left?
I was watching the book burn in the fire and I looked up and there he was. And when I saw the hooded figures and I looked back, he was gone.
Wow. That's wild. Do you think he was connected to the guys with the hooded figures, possibly?
I don't think so. Um, I think had I seen the hooded figures and not seen him first, I would have been a lot more freaked out.
Oh,
But
that's interesting.
it was almost like, okay, something's going on, something's afoot. Like
Yeah,
there's beings about. Don't be freaked out, you know, stay calm. And then I saw the
interesting.
hooded figures and it was like, okay, well, this is weird, but you
That's
know,
interesting. So he was
they're not
like,
walking over to us. So
yeah. So he was like sort of like a possibly, uh, I'll say a spirit guide or something like that that's there to calm you down. I use the word spirit guide, but I mean, I'm not sure that's the right thing to say, but so something there to just to help you and tell you that it's okay, basically.
yeah, in a sense, I think so. It's funny, this is a story that I have not thought about in years. And when I started the podcast journey, I was on the podcast Appalachian Intelligence and I told this story. And when I told the story, since then, I've really like sat down and gone, okay, let's explore this some more. Let's like feel it out. Let's meditate on this one a little bit more. And I think that he was, like you said, maybe a spirit guide or an ancestor or someone who was there for reassurance and to put me at ease for sure.
Yeah.
Um so yeah, I I don't know why he decided to show up in that moment. You know, he didn't say anything. He just looked at me, he just smiled and was real calm and made sure that he wasn't sitting in a way that was like aggressive or menacing or anything. You know, he kind of stayed curled into himself, like I'm just here, you're okay kind of way. So yeah, and as far as the hooded figures, I'm not so arrogant to say that they were there because we were there. I think they were there for some other reason. It just so happened that we were there as well and we saw them. But what that reason was, I couldn't tell you. No idea. It's none of
Yeah,
my business. You
it's
know?
interesting. It is interesting because it's like you've had this moment where you're burning this stuff that you want to disconnect from, and you've seen this figure which is also sort of giving you confirmation that you're doing the right thing, and then you've got these entities that seem dark
Yeah.
and are they trying to stop you from doing that? You know, are they trying to get you back on there? So I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there, but it sounds sort of like that. Like there's a battle between good and
You
evil
know,
going on there.
it was almost like, okay, you can choose the path that you want to choose, but it's not going to discount the fact that things exist.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know, you can not use tools, but it's not going to change the fact that there's all sorts of stuff out there
yeah,
and you're going to run into it at some point. So go ahead and be in your bubble, and that's fine. And don't play with things that you're not ready for, but also be aware there's stuff out here.
yeah.
So,
Interesting,
yeah.
interesting. Cool experience. Scary. Don't get me wrong. To see that many hooded figures, that is freaky, but a cool experience.
Yeah,
And then obviously to
it's a
get
little
that
freaky.
that
Yeah.
protection, the gold protection, that whatever that was, that is a cool experience too. To have that.
Yeah. Um, it definitely solidified that feeling of like, okay, I'm safe.
Yeah,
No matter what happened, I am safe. And I've not chosen things so far down the wrong path that I'm in danger. So that was nice. It's
yeah.
very comforting.
Was it normal for you to see full-bodied apparitions at that time?
In the realm of Fae, yes. I've seen a
Interesting.
handful of
That is one of my
Fae.
favorite subjects, by the way. I love the Fae and the
I love them
fairies,
too. They're my favorite.
goblins. It fascinates me so much.
Yeah, I grew up in the woods, and it's not like the woods of Appalachia where it's totally wild. You know, you've got civilization just on the other, or around the bend. Like it's pockets of woods, and but at the same time, that area of California has a different kind of energy to it. The sands, so I'm sure you've seen pictures of Hawaii. If you've never been to Hawaii,
Mhm.
I'm sure you've seen
Yeah,
pictures of Hawaii, right?
yeah.
That white sand is quartz sand. They ship that to Hawaii from the area that I grew up.
Oh, wow. Okay, so that's not naturally from
So,
Hawaii, that sand. I didn't know that.
no, it's volcanic rock naturally. And
Okay.
peridot, and I mean there is sand, and you'll find different rocks, but it's not that like pristine white sand.
Ah,
That
okay.
comes from Carmel. So the land there is literally quartz. It's all quartz. You got Silicon Valley. The mineral structure in the land of that part of California is very, very strong. So naturally, you would have vibrational things because you have the ground at such a vibration. There has been a lot of occult things with Hollywood and different businesses, and you've got, big tech, and you've got all these things that are in that area of California that have put their own energy, their own intentions, their own practices, and it's not particularly far from Bohemian Grove and Laurel Canyon. I mean, you could go on and on and on. It's all in that area of California. It's all in the central chunk of California. So it's it's not the most difficult to run into something, whether
Yeah,
it's a fae or a thought form or somebody else's energy fingerprint that they've left, or whatever being that they've called in, or whatever it may be. There's a lot of energy in that area of California.
Yeah.
And a lot of it manifests in shadows and figures that you see out of the corner of your eye, and that sort of thing. And if you're naturally in tune to it, if you have gifts that have developed from a young age, it's hard to throw a rock and not see it. Like,
Yeah.
so there's a white lady lore in Pacific Grove, the town that I grew up in. There's haunted houses that are like from the Victorian era. Like there's all kinds of stuff and all kinds of stories that I grew up with of ghosts and all these things.
I love it. I want it all, man.
Go to California, go to Pacific Grove. It's expensive as all hell, but it's really fun, and you can do a ghost tour and do all the stuff.
So cool. So do you think, like, because obviously you got the Hollywood, you got the occult aspects of the area. Do you think that is because that there's something sacred in that area, that's why they're there? That's why they've chosen that spot. To
Yes,
the
I
energy's
do.
just
And
there.
I think I do. I think part of it is the San Andreas fault and the energy that brings. Part of it is the old energy of the redwoods, which are very quickly dwindling, which hurts my heart so much. But the California redwoods are absolute magical trees. And then there's the land itself and all the minerals that are in the land itself. I mean, California is, dare I say it, a gold mine for all sorts of resources.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Those redwood trees are incredible. And I've only seen the pictures, obviously, that where you got the tiny little people standing next to these great big trees. And we have got redwood trees here in the UK, but they're not like the size that I've seen. Some of the pictures that I've seen are incredible. Beautiful.
Oh, they're amazing trees. And the way that they grow is so cool. So you'll have what's called a mother tree. And when the mother tree either dies or something happens to it and starts to throw up baby trees, they create a ring around the mother tree. So anytime you see a ring of redwoods, that's either second or third generation.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
So their generations go on and on and on.
Yeah.
They're amazing trees. I absolutely love redwoods. They're definitely one of my favorite trees. And interestingly, they're naturally fire resistant. The chemical in the bark that gives them that red color is a fire resistant element of them.
Okay.
So you can have a redwood tree where a fire comes through and that tree will stay alive. It could be half burned out, but it'll stay alive because of that.
Interesting. And nature's got a funny way, because obviously that's an area where that can happen, the forest fires, and I know that can happen everywhere, but that it happens a lot there, and they're naturally built to fight against that. That's cool. Interesting. I want to hear about, you said you saw portals opening in the forest, and since you said that, I've written that down, portals, because I need to know what you saw.
Oh gosh. Well, the first portal that Anna and I saw was actually in the church that her dad was a pastor at. The church that we grew up in. We went into a room and I remember feeling a heaviness and kind of like that, like tingle down your spine and uncomfortable, and it was kind of weird. It was weird. It was like the air was sticky and it was very strange. Trying to think of what room it was in. We were the kids that were literally wild in the church. We explored every room that was not locked. We would army crawl underneath people's feet down the pews when we were late to church. We would go into the Bible study rooms behind the organ, and there was a little window. You would see us pop out in the middle of the sermon. Like, we were
Trouble.
chaos. Um, and this portal, I know Anna saw it. I feel like I had gone in there and she was like, nope. And I remember her being really freaked out and going to her dad and being like, what the hell? Do you know what's in this room? And he's like, yeah, I've been in there. It's fine. And she's like, are you kidding me right now? How are you not aware? How are you not freaking out? What the heck is going on? And I remember just being really like, no, there's plenty of other rooms in this church that we can go explore. Let's just not go back into that one. That's not, we don't need to
Wow.
go there.
Can I ask what sort of room it was? Was it a storage room or what was it being used for?
It was a storage room that they would occasionally have like Bible study groups, or like it wasn't always a storage room. It was mostly used as a storage room, but they did use it for different either Bible study or counseling, or they had a professional photographer at one point that was offering family portraits. So it was kind of a multi-purpose room, but it was also where they stored all the extra chairs for the bigger events like Christmas events and stuff like that.
Okay.
So it was a bit of a multi-purpose
Yeah.
space.
Did you know if there was things coming in and out the portal? Why was there a fear from it?
I mean, isn't that the name of the game for a portal?
Yeah, no, I know. I know it
Um,
sounds crazy, but I feel like if I see a portal, as much as every instinct would be saying don't go near it, I would just be like, oh, I've got to. A bit like
yeah.
what we were saying before, and I know it's dangerous, and I know you shouldn't, but if I saw
Let's
that,
go find a door to the other world. Let's go. I'm ready.
let's jump
I
in.
got my bags packed.
Let's go to the upside down and see what is
Yeah.
there.
Hell yeah.
I've heard some terrifying stories to do with portals and people going in, and I've heard some actually positive and negative. I've heard people going in and having great experiences coming out, and things have changed for the better. But I've also heard of people going in, coming out, and bad things happening to people. So I mean, I don't know. Maybe there is
Yeah.
different types.
I think it's very similar to people's experiences with psychedelics. You have one person that does psychedelics and they have a completely like mental breakdown, psychotic break, they go into psychosis and they're never the same.
Yeah,
You have somebody else that does psychedelics and they come out of it and their life has changed, their worldview has changed, they've gotten rid of maybe a phobia that's crippled them for their whole life, or they've gotten rid of an addiction, or they've their lives turn around for the better.
yeah,
And I don't know what it is that differentiates the two, but I feel like it's very similar to a psychedelic experience.
yeah,
I don't know if that's just like something in your spirit, in your soul going, I know there's something better. So let's do the thing that it takes so that we can have better. Or yeah, I don't know.
yeah.
As somebody who has taken psychedelics, I can say that if psychedelics got rid of my anxiety and
Interesting.
some depression, and I was not doing copious amounts of psychedelics when we're talking about mushrooms specifically. I prefer to microdose because it rewrites that brain in, okay, I'm in a road rage situation, I can be angry, or I can go, well, they didn't hit me and I'm safe and I'm fine and they're off on their own, and
Yeah,
it didn't actually affect me. So I could choose to be angry or I can choose to let it go.
yeah.
So for me, that's what psychedelics did for me, was change that way of thinking into, okay, did it actually affect me? No.
Interesting. Yeah,
Do I need to be mad about it? No.
yeah.
Okay, let it go.
That's interesting because anger, it doesn't help anyone. It doesn't help you. It doesn't help the person you're angry with. So if you can avoid
Yeah.
that anger and that feeling, then yeah, that's a positive impact that it's had on you then.
Oh yeah, for sure. I can see how it can go very, very wrong.
Hmm.
And I can see where psychedelics would invite things that are unwanted or darker. Um, and I think a lot of that has to do with the individual person, if they've done work with themselves, if they know who they are, if they know who they want to be, if they know the kind of person that they're aspiring to be, or if they're just floating around and just going through life acting and reacting and in that primal state. Um, so I don't know. I'm not. I would never give the advice to anybody to go and do psychedelics. I am not a fan of things like ayahuasca, uh, or acid, or peyote, or some of these other ceremonial things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Caution is very, very important, and it's also very important to make sure that you know who you are, because you can lose yourself in these things.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
What
disclaimer, not a doctor.
what I find interesting when I talk to people who have done psychedelics, what is interesting to me as someone that's not done it, who's very interested in it, because I'm hearing a lot more about it these days, but
Yeah.
is people seem to a lot of the time have the same experience, see the same entities, go to the same place, and and
Mhm.
in my mind, I'm like, is that a real place they're going to? Is that real entities that they're opening themselves up to? Because they all match. I find that very interesting. What do you think on that?
I think there's an energetic um, frequency that comes with the different substances.
Hmm.
Chemically, a lot of them are pretty much the same thing, um, but there's slight variations which will give you a slightly different vibrational mark. Um, so I hear those stories, and not that I've ever experienced them. I have communed with the gray mushroom, which my belief is that it is in the ground. It's mycelium network that is in the ground. Science is starting to catch up with that.
Hmm.
There's a giant mycelium network that's underground. Uh, but as far as like DMT or ayahuasca or any of these other ones that give you other beings, of course they're linking you with something that is beyond our normal perception.
Hmm.
Um, chemically, it's opening up your brain in ways that you're not normally open to.
Yeah.
So it's
So
having a chemical reaction within your body.
yeah.
So of course you would be now aware of something that you're not normally aware of. I think that these beings are always there, and I think that we have the ability and the access to them without substances.
Yeah.
But substances are a fast track. It's the easy road.
Interesting.
It's an easy
Yeah.
way to get there.
Yeah. That opens us up in a way somehow. Because it's like for
Yeah.
me personally, when I've seen shadow figures or seen something that's out the ordinary, it's apart from when I was younger and I saw the man in my room sitting there for quite a long time. It's normally a quick, yeah, which was freaky. It's normally a quick glance of something. You see something in the corner of your eye, or
Yeah.
you wake up and there's something standing there, and then it might disappear. Are you just getting a glimpse into something that's always there, but for whatever reason, you can just see it for that second or however long it lasts?
Yeah. Yeah, I think I think people want to, like I said earlier, people want to know. They want to know what they don't know.
Hmm.
And they want to experience things that they hear about. And it's easy to take an experience and kind of glorify it and go, yeah, that's really scary, but how cool would that be to see this thing? Right? Movies have not done us a service in this at all. Um at the same time, be careful what you wish for,
Yeah. Yeah.
because maybe that experience would not really be good for you. Maybe that experience would do you more harm. Maybe that experience would do you a lot of good, but maybe you're just not quite ready for it, and it will come when it comes.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
And I'm a really big believer in that, it I feel like a lot of people in the spiritual community really want to like fast track their growth. They want to go at hyper speed. They want to do everything now. And I'm totally not a person that likes to sit on their hands. I have very little patience, although it's getting better. I move very quickly. If you know anything about astrology, I have a lot of fire in my chart. Like, I'm passionate and driven, and let's go, let's do this now.
Yeah.
At the same time, I will go through very big bursts of, oh my gosh, every minute it's just thing after thing after thing after thing after thing, and there's no stopping, and it's just chaos for, a month or whatever. But then there's quiet lull times. And those quiet lull times are really important so that you can integrate the information. You can sit with it. You can go, okay, does this actually match with what I want to do for my life? Does this actually match with what I feel like my purpose is, or what I should be doing? Or is this a side quest that I could get lost in?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think that can be applied to getting wrapped up in wanting to have any of these experiences with other beings.
Mhm. Yeah.
I think globally, we're coming to a time, like, I'm sure you've probably heard it from a few people, the veil is gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
The stars
100%.
are doing weird, funky things. There's a lot of sightings for a lot of things. Yeah, there's Project Bluebeam, and there's possible fake stuff happening as well. But there is a lot of real, tangible things happening. So there's no reason to rush it.
Yeah.
Take it as it comes.
It's happening naturally. And
yeah,
it definitely feels like
and
at the
it's
moment.
happening fast.
Yeah. Yeah. At the moment, especially, I feel like a lot of people have, I don't know what it was, whether it was the lockdowns and stuff like that. I think it was that, which sort of opened people up to, what we're told is not always what it is. And I think that's very clear now,
Yeah.
very clear to most people. And that has shifted
Oh yeah.
a lot of, super interesting.
We also had a period of time where the distractions were less.
Mhm.
A lot of people were stuck in their houses, and they were stuck with entertainment, but how entertaining is Netflix after 2 weeks?
Yeah, there's only so much.
Right.
Yeah.
There's only so much sitting on your ass staring at a screen that you can do
Yeah.
consistently before you like, okay, I'm bored.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think a lot of people started looking and started paying more attention to their surroundings. So you've got this uptick of people going, whoa, wait, what was that?
Mhm. Yeah.
Something just walked past me. Like, what was that? I'm not distracted by my job and my having to go grocery shopping and having to run errands and constantly doing. I'm just sitting here in my quiet space, and there's something that just walked through my kitchen. Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
I think that there was an uptick of that because you were actually sitting in your kitchen for the first time in a long time, probably.
Yeah. With that time that you don't normally get, we're all working, and you don't really get a lot of time to just stop and do whatever you want to do. And that sort of is what happened to a lot of people. I mean, say do what you want to do, you couldn't go out, but in your house you could do what you wanted to do.
Yeah.
And
you were literally stuck in the house. Like,
yeah, it's a wild time.
We're stuck with you and your thoughts.
Yeah. What a wild time. It still angers me in a way, but it was a wild time. It really was for a lot of people.
Yeah. And I think as well, there's that resonant dissonance. There was that background noise that was gone. Traffic was gone. That sound of the constant car traffic was gone.
The planes.
Machinery was a lot quieter.
Yeah.
Planes, helicopter, like everything got real quiet. So, it's like you go to a concert and you leave the concert and your ears start ringing.
Yeah.
Right. So it's the same kind of thing. All of a sudden, you're picking up on all these other sounds that you didn't hear before because they were overtaken by cars and planes and trains and people and kids screaming and all the other things. So your senses had to kind of adjust to that. And And now we've got people going, oh my God, I see things all the time and this has never happened before. 2020 was my wake up call. Like, what the
Yeah.
heck is going on?
Yeah. It was for
So,
me.
yeah.
I've always been interested in the paranormal. I've always had experiences throughout my life. I've always been very open and love the paranormal. I find it fascinating. But that 2020 for me was a big, I would say, spiritual awakening. Like, it changed me massively.
Yeah.
Like, I've always been a bit of a conspiracy theorist, but that that year went big for me. And that,
Yeah.
in a positive way, I would say as well. It's probably what made me do the podcast. It made me move to a new area. It completely changed my life, that's for sure, and my family's life.
Yeah. And I think it did that for a lot of people. And
Mm.
I think it did a lot of harm to a lot of people, but it also did a
Hmm.
lot of good for a lot of people.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
you're not the first podcaster that I've personally talked to that was like, oh yeah, 2020 was my wake up call. Like,
yeah. Because
you know,
suddenly
so
you didn't have tomorrow anymore. They took that away. You always in your mind, I always wanted to start a podcast. I'll do that tomorrow. I'll do that next week. You know, I've got time. I've
yeah.
got all the time in the world. And then suddenly you
Oh, I'll
didn't.
look that up later. I don't need to look it up now. I'm gonna,
Exactly.
you know,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then
sit on
all of a
Instagram
sudden,
for the next 5 hours.
that's it. Yeah, yeah. And that was the wake up for me for sure. Was you've got to do this now. You've got to start right now.
Yeah.
You haven't got tomorrow, definitely. I know everyone should think that, but
Yeah.
we don't.
Well, yeah, it really shifted people's awareness of things and concept of
Mhm.
time as well. You know,
Yeah,
you've got so much time where you're literally just sitting staring and you can have an argument with everybody that's in your house because their breathing is so freaking annoying. Would you just get away from me, right? Or you can go, okay, I'm gonna step back and go into this room where there's nobody and I'm gonna surf the web and
yeah.
learn something new. A lot of people decided that they were gonna learn new skills,
Hmm.
whether that was podcasting or building furniture or whatever it was. Resources were limited, so it forced people to get real crafty
Yeah,
and real
yeah,
creative
yeah,
and think outside the box.
yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, as it was positive for a lot of people, but I really don't want them to do it again. They can't
I
do it again.
really don't want them to do it again. No,
No.
let's not.
We'll take what we
Let's
learn.
not do that again.
We'll move forward. Never again. Thank you.
Yeah. I think that there are better ways.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, for
you know,
sure. Yeah. And I think,
it's like that old movie, Bubble Boy. Do you remember that movie?
I don't think so. I'm terrible with
The
movie
mom
names and
was
stuff
like
like
a
that.
germaphobe and she put her son in this bubble
Hmm.
and he lived his whole life up until like teens or early 20s in this bubble and he was so afraid of germs and he couldn't, go out into the world because he would get so sick. If you isolate like that, hi,
Yeah,
like,
exactly. You
dude, go
need the
stick your feet in
germs.
some dirt.
Yeah, you need that. That makes you
Oh,
stronger.
tractor, sorry.
That's okay.
The joys of
That's
living
cool.
in the middle of
That's
nowhere.
what happens when you live in the country. Yeah.
Yeah.
So going back to when you was younger and you were seeing the Fae and things like that, can you share some experiences, things that you saw?
Oh, I'll share my favorite story.
Yes.
So this has to do with Anna as well. I've always been able to do a little bit of astral travel
Mm,
and especially if I have a connection with somebody, like if I'm on the phone with you, I can kind of pop over, it's not my strongest gift, but at the time she would call me and she would be like, there's something at the end of my bed or there's something on my car. And, I'd be able to kind of check it out and go, all right, let's talk it down. Like, let's calm down a little bit. So this one night she calls me. She's in her car. She's freaking out. She's absolutely hyperventilating. There's something on her car, and what the fuck, right? Is the attitude. So, like, all right, let me check it out. And I take a look, and there's this Fae woman. I'd say she was probably about 5 foot, uh, real skinny, big, crazy, wild, like Merida red hair, insane hair. And she's sitting on the roof of of Anna's car, and she's peeking down over through the windshield. She seemed a bit curious, so I kind of approached and I'm like, hi, what's going on? And she looks up at me and she's got these wild eyes, wild green eyes. She looks up at me and she's like, she can see me. I don't think she realized that I was also human, but she was super excited because Anna could see her. So imagine a small child that's like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, park. Yes, we're going to the park. We're so excited and we're just bouncing off the walls. And there's no concept of volume or other people or whatever, right? She's just so excited. So she's staring at Anna through the window and she's kind of bouncing on the car and she's super, super stoked. And she's like, she can see me. She can see me. Do you realize what this means? Like, do you see this too? She can actually see me. She's so excited. Anna's like, dude, get it away. So I very calmly, it's like, okay, yes, she can see you and I can see you. And that's really, really exciting, as if talking to a child. That's super exciting. Is there anything else that you can be doing right now other than freaking her out? Because if you just sit back for 2 seconds and take a look at this human, she is freaked out. And she kind of went, oh, and decided that she was done, and she bounced off into the forest.
Wow. What was she? Do you know what she was?
I want to say like a nymph-esque type.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't have a whole lot of clothes on. She had a lot of leaves and sticks and stuff in her hair. She was very hyper, and very bouncy. And I would say possibly connected to the redwoods. But she was very like free spirit and like happy and bouncy. And I mean, she wasn't angry. She wasn't like, oh, humans. She was very curious. She was very like warm and just.
And she was shocked that you guys could see her.
Yeah. She was really excited about that. And I don't know how many people really see as many fae as there are, because they're everywhere. Mm-hmm. And there's so many different types of fae. There's so many different classes, and there's so many different, like, you have the Tuatha Dé Danann in Ireland, and that would be one kind of fae. You have pixies and gnomes, and I mean, like, the list goes on and on and on. Fae is really an umbrella term.
Yeah.
That kind of encapsulates a whole bunch of stuff. And then you see them as well in a lot of the mythology, like Greek mythology. You've got the nymphs and you've got all these different creatures. I would say personally that they fit under the category of fae.
Yeah. I love it all, man. I love all the fae. Super interesting. I want to get back into some more of the fae, but how do you travel to, you said you traveled to your friend, astral travel. Can you explain that? Because I find that so interesting.
For me, it's always been just, a lot of it is imaginative. A lot of it is, okay, I'm going to visualize in my head where you are. I can see your car. I can see you. I knew her well enough, and I don't know if it's just because I know her so well that I could see her mannerisms. I could see how she was sitting. I could see, or if I was actually seeing it. Mm-hmm. Again, it's not my strongest thing. It really happens when I have a tie to somebody and I have that connection with them. I can go there. But a lot of it is that like inner mind sight.
Yeah. So you're traveling from your mind. You're not physically going, not physically, but like spiritually going there.
Definitely not physically.
I was gonna say.
I was in my bed.
That would be wild.
Yeah.
But could your friend see you then as well? Like, can she see that you're with her?
I don't know if she could see me physically, but I knew that she felt me, that I was there.
Interesting.
She's very, very, very sensitive, and I don't know that I've ever asked her if she could see me when I've traveled to her.
Hmm.
Maybe I should ask her that. But I know that she's felt me around. Um, and we do check in on each other occasionally. I've had a number of situations where people have come to me like in dreams, and they'll be totally out of context. Now, I don't dream a lot, and I never remember my dreams unless they are important for something. I've had probably 6 dreams in my entire life. I'm 35. I've probably had about 6 dreams that I actually remember, but I remember
Wow.
them vividly. Um, but there has been a handful of times where I know that I'm dreaming, but then I'll see somebody and they don't interact with the dream. They're not really a part of the dream. I know it's just them going, "Hey, you okay? Good? All right.
Interesting.
See you later."
Yeah. Interesting. There's so much more to our dreams. Like there's so much more.
Oh yeah.
It
I'm
is
gonna
wild.
close my window really quick because I
Yeah, that's
can
cool.
hear a plane.
No problem at all.
There we go.
Yeah, there's so much more to our dreams. I used to just think you have a dreams, what you've been thinking about, or but then you have dreams that are just so wild, so real, and then or you'll dream about someone that you've not seen for years, and then they'll ring you the next day. Stuff like that that
Oh
just
yeah.
I don't believe in coincidences, but that happens so
Or all of a
much.
sudden they'll like a post on, social media or something, and it's like we
Yeah,
have not interacted in years, and now
yeah,
you're just out of the blue, like the last post that I posted. What just
yeah.
happened?
It's weird. Yeah, there's something to it, man. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. So can you, when you're astral traveling, is that in a like a meditation mindset?
A bit, yeah. Um, a lot of it is kind of breath work for me. It's not something that I've had like any kind of training on or anything. It's been more something that I've just sort of played with um myself, and I'm sure JJ is probably going, "Oh my god, Jace." I love you, boss lady. Um
We love you, JJ.
yeah, I don't really know how to explain it. I mean, a lot of it is just it's very visual and in that like mind's eye space.
Mhm.
Um and that's where I do a lot of my work as well. I don't know if it's like a mind palace type of thing, like, Sherlock Holmes, or like astral plane, or I couldn't really tell you what it is exactly, but there is a space that I go to in within
Mhm.
that once I go there, then I'm like, all right, I can go wherever, or I can connect to someone, or I can, send a hug or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah,
Do you feel like those abilities are getting stronger? Or are you like in the same place that you've always been able to do it the way that you're doing it, or do you feel like it's growing? If that makes sense.
definitely getting stronger. Um, I went through a period of a bit of hibernation when I had my second son.
Hmm.
So about 6 years ago, I got pregnant with him, and I just sort of started shutting things down. COVID happened right after that, and I went, okay, whoa, these politicians are wild crazy. Some of the theories are wild crazy. Like,
Yeah.
the holistic world is off its rocker. Everybody's just losing their shit. I need to disconnect and mommy time. And I spent a lot of time going into like child development and emotional stability and all the stuff to support the growth of a child. When I had my first son, I was in my very early 20s, and I had a lot of help from my mother, and I was not as aware as I could have been. So I went a little overboard with my second and then my third, and learned all those lessons. So I took a bit of like a hibernation break from a lot of the spiritual stuff. and focused on it from a more human aspect.
Yeah.
Or human direction. An emotional aspect of it. And making sure, you know, okay, you're having a breakdown. Well, I don't need to actually fix it. We just need to sit here and I just need to let you cry. You know? And then as well, doing a whole bunch of work to heal all of my childhood wounds as well in the process. So yeah, I think the Stars did some funny things last October. Anna came to see me in Ireland last October, and we did a workshop where we made ritual oil, and that kind of flipped a switch, and I've been coming out of hibernation in a sense over the last 6 months or so, and now it's like, okay, I kind of feel like where I was before I had my son, but a few steps further, or a lot of steps further, because now I have all this childhood development stuff under my belt, and I have, you know, the psychology of the human mind under my belt, and all that stuff that I was lacking beforehand. And my gifts are starting to wake up a lot more too.
Interesting.
So
now it's let's go.
Yeah. I mean, a couple months ago, I was confronted by a deity who was pretty much like, okay, you signed up for something. You have a really long contract for this life. And right now is your time that you get to go, yes, you're going to fulfill this contract in this lifetime, or no, you're not, and it's going to pass. And it's going to go to your daughter. So I was like, nope, we're doing this. Committed. Let's go. We're not passing this on. Like, we're gonna deal with all the stuff. So
interesting.
Yeah.
So what was that in a dream state, or how was you contacted by that deity?
That was, I woke up in the middle of the night. Have you ever seen the movie Song of the Sea? It's an Irish animated film.
I don't think so, but that sounds good. I love animated films.
About the Selkie.
I've not seen that.
So cute. It is such a cute cartoon. I mean, your kids would probably love it. It's really, really sweet. They have a couple. There's the Song of the Sea and the Book of Kells, and there's another one that has to do with the wolf. They can transform from a wolf to a human.
Oh, cool.
In Irish lore. So the Song of the Sea, there's one character in particular, her name is Maka. And I woke up in the middle of the night. I was rudely awoken by spirit. It was rude. With this name just repeating in my head. And I had the image of this character stuck in my head, and it was like, you have to look this up. You have to look this up. You have to look this up. Go and get your computer and do the stuff. And I'm like, I'm gonna sleep for literally an hour and a half. It's like 3 o'clock in the morning. Can I just not? Can I do this tomorrow? Like, I have to right now. So I go downstairs and I look it up, and then I went, okay, well, I got the character from the movie, and I got her name, and then I searched the name and found her in Irish mythology. And she is tied to Morrigan, the Irish goddess of battle fury and sovereignty and prophecy. So I went on this like grand adventure to research into her, find out her story. She's a triple goddess. There's some stories that say it's 3 sisters, other stories that say it's 3 aspects of the same being. So I go through all this research and I go through all this stuff, and I'm sitting downstairs, and I would have been doing some sort of meditative work or something, maybe a workshop with Anna. I don't quite remember, but all of a sudden there's a woman standing in front of me. Crazy red hair, real dark red hair. And this is in my mind's eye. This is not a like physical being in front of me. In my mind's eye, there's a woman standing in front of me. And she goes, okay, you have a choice. You can answer the call, or you can walk away. But I'm going to give you a preview of what will happen for you if you walk away. And she just like, it's like she put her hands out and just dumped right on top of my head. And I was hit with just this crazy wave of emotion. And I was sobbing before I even knew what was happening. And my body hurt. And I was just in this state of pain and emotion. And I am not a crier. I mean, you see me cry and it's like the world must be ending because I don't cry. And here I am sobbing. It's the middle of the night, and I'm like, "What the hell is happening?" So I did. She lifted it, and I did more of a meditation, and I was like, "Okay, I guess I'm answering the call. I guess I have stuff to do." And I'm also not a person that likes water. I love water. Let me rephrase that. I don't go in water. I do not swim in the ocean. I do not swim in chlorinated pools or hot tub. Well, that's because of the chlorine, but I don't go in bodies of water. If I can't see the bottom,
Yeah.
it's a shark thing.
I
It
was
could
gonna
be a
say,
puddle.
is that a shark thing?
It's a shark thing. It comes from being a kid swimming in the ocean and getting to a rock out in the middle, and then a big fin going by me and going,
Oh wow.
how the hell do I get back to shore? And you know, that area, there's a lot of great whites. And yeah, so it comes from a childhood trauma. If I cannot see through the water and see the ground and see like all the stuff, I'm not going in it.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's a puddle or a waterfall or a lake or whatever, there's a shark in it, I'm not going in.
Yeah, I don't blame you, man.
So I get this overwhelming, you need to get in water. You need to get in water. You need to get in water. Not just any water, you need to get in fresh water, and you have to go like now. Like you should have gone yesterday, but you have to go now. You need to go and get into water. So I tell my husband, all right, we need to, I'm supposed to go swimming. And he's like, is there something wrong with you? I like, I know, but apparently I need to go swimming. So we end up going to Devil's Chimney, which is the highest waterfall in Ireland. It's not far from where we live, so it was an easy day trip to go have an adventure. And it was at a time where this waterfall was raging. We had had so much rain, and it was just pounding down. And for whatever reason, I had to get in the water. So here I am. There's a video of me getting into as close into this waterfall as I could because it freaking hurt because there was a lot of water falling. As close into the waterfall as I possibly could. And then for me, that's a really big step. Like I don't do water. I don't go in water. I don't go swimming. I'm perfectly happy staying dry and clean and not. But I get into this waterfall, and again, kind of meditative state. I see all my ancestors standing around me. Now, this is not something that I've talked about publicly yet, but here we go. Okay. So I was adopted at birth. Yes, so excited. New story. I was adopted at birth, and I got in contact with my birth mom when I was 21. We connected. After a couple years, some stuff had happened. I cut off connection, and we hadn't talked for 10 years, give or take. In March of this year, I reached out to her, and I totally took responsibility for how I acted and was like, I am so sorry. I would love to reconnect with you if you want to, and let's repair the relationship, and let's have a relationship. Now, she has always said that I'm the one that inherited all of the ancestral stuff from her family. That I inherited all of the spiritual stuff. I am the oldest of 5 kids from her. And I'm the one that has the closest tie to her. Ironically, I'm the only one that was adopted, but so this whole process of me getting in touch with her and then having this experience with the ancestors where they came to me and was like, here you go. You have, we're not going to give you the exact details, but you have a lot of work to do and you signed up for this, and you're looking at ancestral trauma healing, and which I think there's a lot of people right now that are going through similar or the same thing that I am. So here's your laundry list of stuff to do. Are you ready to actually do it? Because you're running out of time. You went into hibernation and now you're running out of time. And if you don't do it real soon, it's going to pass to the next in line, who would be my daughter, who's currently 3. So me going to the waterfall was a push to have this experience with the ancestors, because water is a portal and water connects the realms, and gave me the opportunity to say yes or no. I did say yes, and then that propelled me into this whole adventure of going to different sacred sites in Ireland and collecting pieces, specifically dirt, for work that will be done when I get back to the States.
Interesting.
So this year has been wild. You asked me if my gifts have gotten stronger. This year has been one of the most wild experiences that I could have even imagined.
Yeah. Wow. So you've been I know you've always been a spiritual person on a journey, but this has been the year that it's really kicked off. Wow.
Oh yeah.
So
oh yeah. And it's interesting because a number of years ago I got into orgonite and I got into making orgonite. And
what is orgonite? For anyone that doesn't know, and me.
So you'll find it kind of in the conspiracy realm. You bring up electromagnetic frequencies and 5G towers and EMF pollution and all that. You'll find orgonite as a way to mitigate that.
Mm-hmm.
But what it really does is it concentrates life force energy so that it can be used and utilized and added with intention for either healing or dreams or structuring water or healing the land or protection or any number of things. So I got into that a number of years ago, and on this whirlwind journey of going around and collecting dirt from different places, which is the looks I've gotten from humans, has been so fun. I got to a point where it was like, okay, you have a few of the pieces. Now you have to put them into pyramids. So you don't post video, right? You just do the audio?
It is mainly, but I have started putting videos on YouTube. So if you don't mind, this will be on YouTube, the video.
Oh, okay.
So people can see the video.
Yeah,
now.
That's fine. I will show you one of the pyramids.
Oh wow. You made that?
Yeah.
Wow. So can you tell us what everything that's in there?
Yeah. So on the bottom here, you have a whole bunch of tumble stones. These are naturally formed stones from a beach up by Malin Head. It's the most northern point of Ireland, of the island. And we went up there, and I'm a huge rock hound, so I can't go to the beach without coming home.
It's like my daughter.
Yeah, I love rocks. My husband put a rule that I'm not allowed to take them from car parks anymore. But fair. So this one has the stones from Rainbow Beach. It has a quartz point that's wrapped with copper up at the top. And then it has soil from a few different places. So one of them is the Cave of Cats, which is said to be the dwelling place of the Margan. One of them is Eamon Macha, which is in Northern Ireland. One of them is from the base of the Standing Stone where Cuchulainn died, which was a trip to go there because it's literally just a 9-foot tall rock in the middle of a farmer's field. Like, if you didn't know it was there, you would never know that it was there. It's just in a field of potatoes. And then the last layer of soil is from the Hill of Tara, which is the seat of the High Kings in County Meath. So, yeah, so I collected all these samples and I collected all this stuff, and then that intuition started going crazy, going, all right, you need to make pyramid, you need to make this pyramid, you need to have it in this order, you need to have these different layers. Oh, by the way, do you remember that pine cone that you picked up from the waterfall? That also has to go in a different piece. And so it's,
so what's telling,
I'm in the middle of making all these pieces,
a knowing? Is this just a knowing, or how are you getting that information?
Yeah. I have what is called claircognizance. So you're probably familiar with the clairs, I would imagine, clairvoyance and all that. So if you break down the word, it's clear seeing or clear knowing or clear hearing. So I have a little bit of seeing, hearing, knowing, and feeling. Every now and then I will get a smell or I will get a taste. They're definitely not the strongest. The smell has happened more often lately than it ever has in my life, which is such a trip to walk into a room and you're like, I smell men's cologne. What the hell? Nobody in my house wears cologne. What is this smell? Why is it here? It's very trippy. It's not my favorite one. I much prefer to just know stuff. I like that.
Yeah.
Non-intrusive. But yeah, so it's a bit of claircognizance, and it's a bit of just kind of feeling out the stones and what the land has to say, and that kind of gut intuition.
Yeah.
There's a thing that I use when I go rock hounding. I call it the pull, and it's like there's a string around your heart, and it kind of tugs you just a little bit to go in a certain direction, or to, you know, lift a certain rock and look underneath it, or whatever. And it's come in very handy for rock hounding, especially looking for big star jade in California, because it's not always the easiest to find, or abalone shells on the beach. Shh, don't tell the government.
We're not allowed them. We're taking them anyway.
I'm on the other side of the pond.
That's it. Who says that? Anyway.
Yeah, so that pull has come in handy for things like that, but it also comes in handy for any kind of intuitive stuff as well.
Interesting.
And that's really all it is just intuition and listening to your surroundings, and listening to the land and the whispers in the wind and stuff.
Yeah.
And just not being closed off to the world around you.
Mm-hmm. So
blinders off.
Are the pyramids, are they a protection? What's their ultimate job?
These particular ones, I am not sure. I am due to go and physically occupy the same space as my birth mom soon. She lives in Oregon, in the US. So I will be going there, and I'm not sure exactly what is going to come up. Ghost story. Okay, I don't have a lot of ghost stories.
Let's go.
But I do have one. Do we have time? Are we going?
Yeah, as long as you've got time. As long as you've got time. And I've got to hear the ghost story, man. That is for sure.
Okay, so I don't have ghost stories. Like I don't do a whole lot with human spirits. They just I don't know. They don't.
Do you see spirits though? Do you see spirits?
I do, but I'm not sure how many of them have ever really been human.
Okay.
I think I see, like, my astral projection. It's kind of my awareness or my presence going to somewhere. It's my belief that I see that
Mhm.
often. And it's usually just a shadow or a flash of some, oh, maybe somebody's thinking about me and they're like checking in and, that sort of thing. But this, we were coming back from the Hill of Tara and we were on our way to, oh, shoot. We were on our way to Ishnok, and another mound site. And we were driving along and there's this old hospital. And you could tell, I mean, it was, it was run down and it was pretty old. It was a lot of weeds. It was one of those old buildings, if you look into the Tartaria stuff, it looks like that kind of architecture.
Interesting. Yeah.
Right. So we're driving by and we don't do abandoned buildings. We don't do ghost hunts. We don't I've seen enough. I don't need ghosts too. Had enough experiences, don't need ghosts too. I like the woods are my friends. But for whatever reason, my husband's like, well, let's just stop and we'll have a cigarette and we'll stretch our legs, let the kids run around, and then we'll be on our way. So he pulls straight into it. This is very out of character. Normally he's the first to be like, nope, not a chance, we're not going. So he pulls straight in and we pull up to the front of the building and he stops just long enough for if someone were to get in or out of a car. And then we decide, nope, we're not staying here. We have to go now. This is creepy. Let's leave. This is not where we're gonna stop. We'll find somewhere else. So we immediately turn around and we leave. Well, we get a couple blocks away and all of a sudden we're stopped at a stoplight, and in my mind's eye, I see this woman. And she has glowing green eyes. Her eyes are so green. And she's being taken away to be institutionalized. And there's men that are telling her, you're insane, you're crazy, you need professional help. You need our help to fix you because there's something wrong with you and you're crazy. She was very clear and she was very cognizant, and she didn't seem crazy to me, but she was pissed. She was so angry. And she, again, not had a lot of experiences with human ghosts or human spirits, but this woman decided that she was coming along with us, that we picked her up and she was coming with us. So I'm sitting in the car and I don't want to freak my husband out. And, we've got the kids in the back seat and he's very much like, nothing around us, nothing comes in the house, nothing comes in the car, battle shields up all the time. Shut it down. Absolutely not. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, I don't know what to do with this. I don't know what to do with this. There's this woman and she's just with me, and what are we going to do here? So I contact a friend of mine who is a ferryman. He ferries souls.
Okay.
And I'm like, dude, okay, out of my wheelhouse. What do I do with this? Right. And he goes, well, just imagine a door over your left shoulder, and all you can really do is just be like, there's the door, you can go through the door, and she'll decide if she wants to go through the door or not. So I was like, okay, I'll do that, no problem. So I imagine this door, open the door, I'm telling her, it's okay now, you're out of there, you're safe, you don't have to stay there anymore, you can move on, you can be free. And she just gives me this huge hug, and then she disappears behind my shoulder and she goes.
Wow.
A couple days later, I get a message from my friend that I had contacted, and he goes, well, I talked to another ferryman, because I this community that I'm in, there's just all these rare gifts in abundance. I don't know. So he goes, I talked to another one of the ferrymen and told him, keep an eye out for glowing green eyes. And I just wanted to let you know that last night he was ferrying a bunch of souls, and one of the last ones was glowing green eyes. He didn't have any other details, just the eyes. So I get a message from my birth mom, and this is a bit personal, but I get a message from my birth mom a few days ago. And she goes, "Do you ever feel like you're crazy? Like that you're just absolutely insane and should be institutionalized, and nothing that you think is real? And do you ever just feel like you're crazy? Like, I know I'm not crazy because my doctors say that I'm sane and I'm on medication for my mental state and da 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 da." And she goes through this whole thing, and immediately I was like, it's an ancestral wound. So what I think happened was we just so happened to go past this hospital, and I have family lines that, or family ties that are tied to Ireland.
Mhm.
And I think what happened was I came across perhaps one of my ancestors, maybe like a distant cousin, or, you know, but somebody tied to the bloodline.
Yeah.
And that's why she came to me, because there was some sort of blood tie there. And then I was able to take that experience that I saw that she went through and share it with my birth mom and go, it's ancestral.
Yeah.
It's not us.
It's just
And
in
kind
you.
of walk her through it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It just hit me like when the second she goes, "Do you ever feel like you're crazy?" I knew that that experience that I had with this woman with green eyes was so that I could walk my birth mom through this whole
Interesting.
process and go,
Yeah.
it's not you.
Yeah. Wow. That's cool. That is cool.
Yeah.
Man.
So I think I have a lot more of that kind of work ahead of me, but
Yeah.
I have
Yeah.
all my pyramids now, so
Did
I
you
got
tell
all
your
my
husband
pieces.
about that? Did you tell your husband eventually that happened?
I did. He was not particularly happy with me at the time, but we had a really long conversation about why I didn't tell him first.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, and then as well, like, he's been going through his own kind of spiritual awakening, and so there's been a lot of lessons, and he's on a bit of a different level from his own life experiences. So there was um there was explaining what a ferryman is, and you know, there was stuff about this world that I have never really shared with him that I got to share with him. So that was exciting.
Yeah. Yeah. He needs to start listening to the
All the while he's
podcast.
looking at me like, what the hell?
It's super interesting. And as you said, it sounds like you're, even though you've had a lot of experiences, very spiritual, it sounds like you're very much at the start, as you said, of a new journey. And it's going to be
Oh yeah.
interesting to see where that takes you. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm excited. I feel like my time in Ireland is quickly coming to an end. Which I'm kind of excited about because the children are getting to an age where they're older and they're more independent, and you know, I don't have to mother hen as much. Not that I'm a helicopter parent, I'm really not. I'm totally that parent that's like, go outside, and then I just
Yeah.
leave them outside for
Play
a
in the
while
mud.
because our neighborhood is safe. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
um yeah, so you know, we're definitely coming to a new a new stage in life. um It's funny though, because like my husband and I both pull cards. We have oracle cards and we have tarot cards. And our our son, my oldest son, is like, I don't care. I just leave me alone with my mythology. Like, I don't care. He calls it the spiritual stuff.
Yeah.
So, but our 5-year old and our 3-year old, our son and daughter, they will both come and they'll pull cards. And there's times where they will go and get the cards and bring them to us. And you know, my daughter pulled me a card a couple weeks ago that was the strength card, which at the time was very like,
You needed
okay,
that.
all right, I
Yeah.
see you.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So
We definitely
yeah.
get messages and things like that happen to
Oh,
I don't know
all
what
the
it is.
time.
I don't know if I've shared
Yeah.
this on the podcast, but I keep seeing the number 33 constantly. I
Oh,
see it all the time, and it's been going on for probably a year now, like where I just keep seeing 33, 33. And at first, I was a bit worried about it. I was thinking, this is not good. Like, why do I keep seeing that? And honestly, it was happening so much. Every time I was looking at the time, I'd wake up in the middle of the night, it'd be 333. And I was getting worried about it. I really was. And in the conspiracy world, the number 33 is quite a negative number from what I've listened to.
Masonic.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and I was getting worried about that. And then I started looking into it a little bit more, and they was talking about the angel number, and it means you're on the right path and stuff like this. And all of a sudden, I was like, I just got a good
Yeah.
feeling from it. And now every time
Yeah.
I see it, which I still see it all the time, every time I see it, I'm like, yeah, that's a message. Like it really feels like that,
Yeah.
and it happens so often.
3 is one of those numbers that you see repeatedly
Hmm.
in a lot of things. Like I've gone into a lot of the Irish mythology in the last few months, and you constantly see 3. Or you see 9 on 9 on 9. And
Interesting.
it's interesting because over the years, I've always said that the ultimate number is 27 because it's 3 sets of 3 sets of 3.
Yeah.
So neurodivergent brain, that's how I math. Like so it's interesting now looking at the Irish mythology, they basically say the exact same thing, they just say it in a different way. They say 9 on 9 on 9. So 3 and 9 and 27, that or any version of 3 seems to be something very important. That triplicate
Interesting.
seems to be something very important uh everywhere, it seems like. Every time
Yeah.
I turn around, there's something about 3.
Interesting. Because I
So
used to be one of these guys that used to be like, you listen to podcasts that talk about numbers, and I used to think, yeah, but you can make numbers, and and I never really used to think or take it seriously. But now I'm like, yeah, there's so much to it,
yeah,
and especially with my experience with this, seeing this 33 all the time, like people will be listening, they'll go, it's just one of those things, and you're seeing it because you want to see it, but I'm generally seeing it all the time, like.
yeah.
It's wild.
Well, and it's trippy too when you're going about your day and then you go to look at your phone and you turn
It's
it on and it's
33.
3:33.
Yeah, yeah. Nine
Like,
times
or
out of
you
10,
wake
it's
up in the middle of the
33.
night and it's 3:33, or you happen to, you were not in the kitchen before and you happen to go into the kitchen and the timer is 3:33. Like
Yeah, yeah.
there, there
Happens
is,
so
I think,
often.
an element of searching and seeing what you want to see in things, but
Hmm.
there is also on top of that and separate from it as well
Yeah,
that these
yeah,
things come to you
yeah,
for
for
a reason.
sure. Because honestly, when it first was happening, I was like, I don't like this. I don't want to see this. So I was actively trying not to see 33, but
Yeah.
I still kept seeing it. And I was like, oh man, no. But now,
Yeah.
now I like it. I see it as a positive thing now. But yeah, it's
Oh, just
wild.
wait until you see feathers everywhere.
Yeah. The white
Every time you
feathers.
turn around, there's gonna be a feather.
Yeah. Oh, I've loved talking to you tonight. I just want to ask you before we wrap up and finish, because I've got to ask you this. I've written it down. Uh, at the start, you're talking about gnomes and fairies, and have you seen any of those creatures of the Fae?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Oh
can you
yeah.
give us a few?
Um,
I'm sorry, but that fascinates me. If you've got time, I've got to hear about that.
I grew up pretty much in Pebble Beach, and for the most part, I grew up on that beach that I saw the man and the cloaked figures.
Hmm.
Um, and I would come home from school and grab my dog and walk down to the beach. It was a 10-minute walk. We'd go down and we would spend until sunset on the beach. I was terrible in school. I never did my homework because I was always at the beach.
Yeah,
Um,
don't blame you. Beach is
yeah.
much better.
So, but spending all that time in nature, in a place where there is moving water, I saw a lot. Um, And there, I couldn't really tell you like a specific story of, oh, this could be a grandiose story, but walking down the paths, hearing little footprints, or seeing plants rustle where they shouldn't, like there's no wind, why would something be moving? Checking it out and it's not like a bunny or a squirrel or whatever. Seeing little flashes of color, especially in places where there's no direct sunlight or there's no there's no explanation. I am a very analytically minded person. I like to dissect things and figure it out and reason through it. But at the same time, you kind of get to a point where you go, okay, there's no real reasoning through that. Like it just is what it is. So I've had a lot of experience with like seeing little pixies and seeing it's always little flashes, usually color.
Yeah.
Another Anna story. They love to mess with her. It's just like favorite pastime. So, okay. So I went over to her house. We were going to go out and have a girls' night and go to the bar and, do girl things. She's getting ready and I, as usual, I'm like, I'm ready. Let's go. How are you not ready yet? We were supposed to, I've been here for 25 minutes. Can we just go now? Fire sign. No patience. So this one time she's like, I'm looking for this very specific pair of earrings. And I know that they were in this purse. I know they were in this purse. She dumps everything out of the purse. She can't find them. She pulls the liner out. Like she's frantically looking. I said, all right, just go do whatever else you can do to get ready. And I will look for the earrings. So I put everything back in the purse, kind of look through. I can't find the earrings. And I sit down and I go, all right, enough is enough. Put them back. Very firm. Put it back. Calmly take everything back out of the purse. I put my hand in the purse and I feel along the liner. And I can feel between the inside liner and the outside of the purse, there is now something there. And I find a little hole in the inside liner. And there are her earrings. Wow. Between the inner liner and the outer liner, where they were not there before.
Wow.
Like I checked thoroughly around in this purse and they were not there before. But they were after I said put them back.
Wow.
So for anybody who might be having an issue with a brownie or a pixie or these smaller magpie types, very firm, put it back.
Yeah. They're like, okay.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Think about it like unruly children who have no, they're just running amok.
Yeah.
They like to play.
The tricksters.
They like shiny things. They like to play pranks, and their pranks tend to go further than what we would consider to be acceptable. But in their world, it's acceptable.
Yeah.
So as long as you've got boundaries, you're good to go.
Yeah. So interesting. So you think these creatures, they're around us all the time. We just can't see them. And every now and again, they'll interact with us. And they're having fun doing whatever they're doing.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's definitely something to the story of the borrowers as well.
Mm-hmm. I love the borrowers. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if they live in every house. I think they're probably more inclined to live in some of these older houses.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think they're everywhere. If you are quiet and you listen and you build relationship with these beings or these creatures, then you can have really good experiences. Or you can also establish, you stay in your lane, I'll stay in my lane, we're fine, and that's acceptable, and that's cool too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've never known them to be specifically malicious though. Mm-hmm. I've never known them to be cruel or angry or a negative experience. I mean, you lose your keys and you're trying to go to work. That can be perceived as a negative experience.
Pretty angry. Yeah.
but they didn't mean harm, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
It's not intentional.
They're just
So
having fun.
they really do like shiny things and they really do like to play.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So interesting. Super interesting. Jace, I've loved talking to you tonight. Thank you so much for sharing your story, your journey so far. If anything else happens,
having
and
me.
I want you back anyway, because I think there's more we can talk about. But I really appreciate
Oh
you
yeah.
coming and sharing your work and experiences. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Can you tell the listeners where they can find you?
Yes. I the best place to find me is on Instagram. My podcast Instagram is wabi_sabi_podcast. And in the bio of that Instagram, you can find my link tree that has all my stuff.
Awesome.
So
Awesome. I'll share it in the show description. Jace, thank you so much. Guys, thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed the show, share it where you can. That is a great way to support us. We're going to be back very soon for more freaky conversations. In the meantime, Jace, stay safe. Freaky fam, stay safe. We'll see you very soon. Thank you very much.